Welcome everyone, and thank you for taking time to join us. I am Audra Mitchell, General Manager of the Massey Learning Institute, and your host for today's session entitled, Have Yourself a Merry Money Christmas, Making Sense of Your Money During and Beyond the Holiday Season. So if you're like me, then Christmas is one of your favorite times of the year. In fact, I have a friend, a financial planner, that calls it silly season, because this is one of the times actually when the Christmas joy takes over and we engage in endless retail activity, buying things for the house, presents, eats and drinks, and of course gifts. When the Christmas euphoria wears out, then we are faced with the elusive January payday or money drought. Now, pre-pandemic, most of us would have gotten caught up with the usual Christmas spend, including the parties. But now that we're in the midst of the pandemic and facing uncertain economic conditions, and in some instances, decreased income, how do we manage our spend during and after the holiday season to ensure that we have a great time, but yet spend wisely? Well, today, our esteemed guests will assist us by exploring three main areas, which will assist us in solving that issue or this dilemma. One, money tips for managing Christmas in a pandemic. Two, strategies for financial recovery after job loss or decrease in income. Or three, tools for plotting your way to a healthy financial future. Sounds exciting? Well, I hope so, because we are certainly excited to have her. And we want to invite you to take your notes and see how these steps can apply to you so that you can still have some Christmas cheer. So please get your questions ready and post them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them immediately after our presentation. As is customary, if someone posts a question similar to yours or exactly what you wanted to ask, go ahead and click the like button so that we can gauge your interest in having that specific question answered. Remember, a recording of this webinar will be made available on MLI's YouTube channel so that you can access it after the session or even share with your loved ones. So, it is with great pleasure that I introduce and welcome our guest speaker, Ms. Melinda Peter. So let me share a little bit about Melinda. Melinda is an author, a teacher, financial consultant, and from an early age had a particular interest in money. Businesses are birthed out of the business owner's personal experience, and it is with her mistakes, her knowledge and experience that she desires to see others make sound decisions regarding their money. Melinda sees her role as that of an architect and is committed to the shaping of the financial landscapes of men, women, boys, girls, businesses, and nations, teaching families and individuals to manage their money and to create wealth. Melinda is the Chief Financial Planner at Money Matters. With Melinda, where systematic advice is offered for getting out of debt, saving, investing, and building wealth. Melinda, welcome, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Audra. I just want to thank the MLI team for having me today. I consider it an honor and privilege to be presenting on this very important topic. So let's get to it right away. Okay, so today we're talking about having yourself a merry money Christmas. So I know that Christmas tends to be such a joyous time where families are gathering and you just want to share. You want to spend money on making memories and all of those important things. That's fine. But what I would like to do today is to really give you some sound tips as you navigate this unique financial season, as most of us are really experiencing challenges in this pandemic period. I just hope that you will find some joy and some inspiration as I present to you. So I am getting in the Christmas mood, as you can see. So I hope that it it feeds off onto you as well. So we're talking about having yourself a Merry Money Christmas. And it's brought to you by Money Matters with Melinda. And I felt very strongly that there needed to be someone talking to people about money, someone sharing their personal experiences, someone who could relate to what it is that you're going through and what it is that you would like to accomplish. So throughout this presentation, if you don't mind, I'll be sharing my personal experiences because much like you, I'm walking out this financial journey. I've had a few bumps along the way, but having a financial plan and having a way in which that you can recover is just the way that you can move forward. So I'm hoping that what I would have discovered would help you as well. So thank you again to the MLI team. Now, Christmas in a pandemic, I know that these times are kind of, can I say scary or can I say unpredictable? Because you're not sure what tomorrow would bring based on the numbers that are rising and based on how everyone is being impacted. It's kind of iffy in these times, but I don't want you to stop thinking about having plans with your family. I don't want you to stop thinking about ways in which that you can enjoy yourself this Christmas. But I want to remind you, the first thing that I want to remind you is that you want to ensure, and I think in some countries they may pay you earlier than your normal payday. You want to ensure that you still have money set aside for very important expenses, which would be your rent or your mortgage, which would be your utilities, and all those different financial commitments that you would have to meet in the new year. Because believe me, it's going to be a lengthy period until your next payday. So what you want to do is that you want to ensure that you have a budget in place for that. What do I mean by a budget? And some people can feel really intimidated by this thought that you need to know exactly how to do this and that you need to get it right in one go. But I want to encourage you and tell you that budgeting is a lifetime practice. It is not something that you're going to get right away. Every month is different. Things occur. You have annual expenses to take care of and all these various things, even surprises as well. But if you have not begun budgeting, I often tell my clients, the first thing that I want you to do is to track your spending, see where your money is going. Once you know where money is going towards gas, where money is going towards rent and all those different things, once you see your actual spending, then you're able to create a spending plan that works for you. No, I said works for you, not what you see other people doing, but what works for you, what works for your family, okay? But I can't stress that enough. When you get your paycheck, especially if it's earlier than payday, make sure that you have money set aside for your bills and that you are not going crazy, because we do have a tendency to, which is normal and understand, because you want to enjoy yourself and celebrate yourself, especially having to go through the year that we have all gone through, because you know we're not immune from it, from this pandemic, but you should still have a good time. So that's just a word of caution before I get into this. So how do you celebrate Christmas in a pandemic? What you can do is host gift exchanges. Now, you don't need to feel pressured to have an expensive gift exchange, because a lot of people tend to think that they need to spend an exorbitant amount of money in order to give a gift, but there are different things that you can do. What I would recommend is that if you get with a close group of your friends, or even if they do it within your workplace, that you determine what the spending limit is, because everyone has their different financial situations and they may not have that income that's readily freed up in order to make such large purchases. But we can be so creative. I mean, you'd be surprised at the different things that you could find to give someone that would be meaningful. So what you can do is that you could determine a price limit. If it is, I'll call US dollars. If it is 20 US, or if it's 30 US or 25 US, those things that are within that realistic bracket, then you could actually host a gift exchange based on that. Now, you don't need to go crazy and think that, oh my gosh, well, I've had this material on my furniture, or I've had this for a while, maybe I need to get new furniture. Unless it is broken down, unless it is not safe to sit down on, then you could think about actually purchasing new furniture. but there are different ways in which you can make your furniture come alive, in particular your couches. And I've seen my mother do this over the years. All she did was that she would have purchased the material, and she's one who used to sew a lot, not like before, but she used to do that a lot. I mean, having a family of four, you have to do these things in order to make things work. So she would have purchased the material, and she would have created the cushion covers, and you would think that we would have brought a new furniture set. So those are the little things that you could do, even if it is a furniture set that you would have purchased, but you can't easily take off the furnishing, so to speak, take off the material rather. You can opt to have it cleaned, of course, but then what you can do also is purchase new throw cushions. Like you could explore different colors, and those things shouldn't be so expensive. I know they're probably thrift stores. Well, here in Barbados, it's a $3 store, but I don't think they sell throw cushions at that affordable price. But I know that there are different shops where you could actually purchase those things on discount. So be on the lookout for that. And especially in these present times, you want to be selective about where it is that you go and the parties that you attend. There's some people who may be hosting parties, but we have to be mindful in terms of this pandemic that you don't want to expose yourself unnecessarily. But not from a health perspective. What I'm talking about is that you don't want to overextend yourself financially. So based on your budget, based on the amount of money that you're able to afford, there may be some functions where you may be required to bring something, or there may be some functions where you may not, but you can be selective. You don't have to feel pressure to go everywhere. You don't have to say yes to every single event. You can determine what's best for you, and you can make that decision. Another thing that you can do, and that I personally need to get back into, is making baked goods. And it's something that I find joy in doing. And I know that other people benefit from it. My family benefits from it. I believe my friends did as well too. So you can bake things from home. It's cost effective. And I think people would find this to be meaningful. So if you are a baker, you could do that. Go purchase the product. Find those little plastic bags and those little nice ribbons and tie them together, and you give them away. So you are not overextending yourself. You can make batches, and therefore it would mean that it's a cost-effective way for you to enjoy your holidays. Also, you want to reuse your Christmas decorations. You don't have to feel pressure to go and purchase a new set. That's okay. Nobody's really looking at your tree, or you're not actually in competition for the best decorated tree in the island, so to speak, or where it is that you reside. But you can reuse what it is that you have already. That's fine. Also, if you can't afford a real tree, then you could actually look into having an artificial tree, and that tree you could reuse over the years. My mother finally found the courage to actually purchase a tree. Not that she said anything, but unfortunately we lost our brother 2 years ago. So he really, really loved Christmas. So I think this would be a very special occasion for us to actually purchase a real tree and decorate it and just celebrate it. But you do what's best for you. But if you already have what you have already, use it. As it relates to the curtains as well too. Nobody's looking in your home. If there are curtains to the back that are okay, you can bring them to the front of the house. If there are curtains you would have used in the previous years, you can wash them and use them again. Nobody is looking. Again, you don't want to put yourself under pressure, under financial pressure this Christmas. You can still have Christmas on a budget, and that's okay. I want to caution also, at this time, many institutions will be sending out, I believe, letters about saying you have been pre-approved for a particular amount of money. All you need is to bring your pay slip and letter of employment proving, that there is source of income and that you could actually repay that loan. But I often tell people, you want to make sure that you're not overextending yourself, especially with consumer debt, because these things can eat away at your budget without you knowing. I remember when I received an increase in my salary, the first thing that I went to do was to acquire a line of credit. And I thought, well, you know what? I received an increase in income, so this is what I'm going to do. Me being smart with myself, not understanding myself, and knowing that I'm susceptible to this. Instead of using the money for school, I ended up using the money towards travel and all those various things. The money was there, and then it dwindled away all of a sudden. I'm like, where did this money go? So sometimes we think that we need to get into debt at this point in time. And I know there are going to be lots of offers about Christmas loans and all those different things, but you want to be very, very careful that you do not overextend yourself. I've heard stories about people who would have got things on hire purchase, and then when it came time to pay, they were not able to pay, so then they had to return it. And that's not something that you actually want to go through. But the point is that you want to have as much money left over as possible so that you're able to survive and live after the Christmas period. And I want to encourage you with this as well also. Please excuse me. No more than 35% of your income should be tied up in debt. When I say no more than 35%, that would be inclusive of your consumer loans, your mortgage, and all those different things. The reason why that percentage is recommended, it's because you want to be able to use your money to accomplish other goals. So you simply divide your total monthly payments by your gross salary in order to determine that percentage. What you do is that you divide your total monthly payments, which would be all your consumer loans, the credit cards, and all those different things, and divide it by your gross salary in order to determine what that percentage is. I made that personal decision to stay away from credit card debt because I know myself and I understand myself. If I see something, I'm going to want it and I'm going to swipe. So what I've done is I've switched over to using a Visa debit card, which works just like a credit card. But the beautiful thing is that I don't pay interest on it. What I only pay is the amount of money that I actually spend the money on. And if the money is not on the account, I can't make a purchase. But I'm not asking you to go cold turkey like I did, because I know and I understand myself. But maybe what you could consider in the future is lowering your credit card limit, because what lending institutions tend to do is that they decide the amount of money that you are able to borrow. But I know of a few people who would have settled for $1,000 limit, and that would be 500 US, okay? A $500 US limit, so that by the time the end of the month comes, what happens is that they just pay that amount in full and then they use it again. So you can still use it for your personal expenses so that by the time you're paid, then you can pay it off. So that's just something to consider. So these are the tips for having a Merry Money Christmas in a pandemic. You can still have fun. Nobody's stopping you from having fun, but you can do it in a cost-effective and budget-friendly manner. Now, strategies for financial recovery. I know maybe we would have experienced some form of financial loss, probably would have lost our jobs, probably would have experienced decrease in income. And as a business owner, I would have received that decrease in income because these are challenging times, but that's okay. Still navigating, still doing what I need to do. But the number one thing that I would want you to know is to get in contact with your creditors. They're not looking to punish you for you being upfront and saying, this is my present financial situation. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm able to do. Maybe you could consider allowing me to have my terms lengthened so that I can decrease the amount of money that I'm paying monthly until I catch myself back. Then I can go full speed again and go back to the normal rate that I was at. Maybe we could look at consolidating my debt so that I'm making one payment so that my money isn't so stretched. So creditors are waiting for you to have a conversation with them. And I think part of the reason why we as Caribbean people, and I think generally across the globe, why we don't talk about money is that probably money wasn't discussed in the home. So it's like a taboo topic. So therefore, you don't want anybody to know about your financial situation. But if you just sit down and have a conversation with them and let them know, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm struggling, is there a way in which we can work things out? And believe me, they will honor you for it. Because these present pandemic times have really thrown some people for a loop. There's unemployment, there's decreased in income. So these things are definitely happening. But we have to find a way to navigate in this situation. And this isn't to say that you won't get back into your former glory, I should say, or back into how you were able to manage things and do things. But sometimes we just need to make a little detour, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to get back on track, because life is often not lived or moved in a straight line. Sometimes we go up and down, there are valleys, there are twists and there are turns, but that's okay. If it is that you find, if you're renting and that fee is too much for you to handle, there is no shame. There is no shame in actually saying, you know what? I am actually going to find somewhere more affordable. And you may be surprised to find that that more affordable place may be bigger than the present place that you're living in. You just need to do your search. And if I could share, I mean, I would have gone through a divorce, and I've moved back in with my parents just temporarily, but I'm grateful for that opportunity because it allows me to catch back myself financially and prepare for my own home. So there's no shame in taking a step back. There's no shame in living with relatives for a while. There are a good friend. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just an adjustment period. If it is that you're a family that has 2 vehicles and one person would have lost their job, and that one income can't afford the payments for 2 vehicles, sell that vehicle. That's okay. You just share that one vehicle for now until you're able to get it back, a second vehicle. Or if it is that your monthly payments are killing you and you're stressed out, it's not worth it. Sell your vehicle for a cheaper vehicle. That's fine. These are all the little adjustments that we need to make sometimes. And then it may mean also for some of us actually going back to school, actually furthering our education. I plan to go back to UWI in January because I'm looking to go into psychology, counseling psychology rather, because I want to understand people better and I want to be able to equip them in a more meaningful method and add more value to their lives. So that's my plan, but because then that could develop another income stream for myself, for my business, okay? So you never know. I mean, you don't necessarily need to go back to UWI, but there may be different certificates that you look into. Maybe somebody's into going into beauty. Somebody might want to go into being a mechanic. So these different things that you could do to earn income. We have skills, abilities, talents that we were naturally created with. And I was so thankful that I was able to discover what that is, because I'm a teacher at heart and I do love to speak. I do love to teach. I do love to write because I've written 2 books, and those are the ways in which I generate income, through training, through writing books, through writing blogs, all those different things, articles. And I know that they make room for me because they allow me the opportunity to impact someone. So you may be able to braid hair, you may be able to bake well, you may be good at landscaping and all those different things. You may be able to provide a service on the side. You may be able to tutor, which I do. I do tutor in CXC and CAPE accounts also. So those are the different things that you can do in order to develop another income stream. And this last one, under strategies for having financial recovery, taking care of your mental health. And I can't tell you how essential and how important that is. And that is part of your financial recovery, because I could only imagine the level of pressure and the level of stress that you may have to go through. But it's so important that if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. You can't take care of your family. You can't be the best on your job. And if you know that you need help, if you find that you're feeling depressed and feeling down and worried and anxious about these different things, seek the professional help. If your business place does afford that opportunity to offer that support, take advantage of it. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that there's something that you need to work through. And for me personally, back in June, July, I had a period of burnout and I wasn't myself. I wasn't my best self, and it would have impacted my business. So I decided that, you know what, I need to reach for professional help. I need to talk to someone. I need to work this out and work this through. And I'm in a much healthier and happier place because I decided to take care of myself. And now I'm ready to take 2022 full on, because I knew that that was the foundation that needed to be rebuilt. My mental health, So there are different things you can do. Take time for you. Go for the walk. Go to the beach. It doesn't have to be expensive. There's $6 Tuesdays and Wednesdays here in Barbados at the Olympus. So sometimes I may go and watch that, or I may take myself to the drive-in, or I may just go driving around. That's just my favorite thing to do. But it's important to get back in touch with your hobbies and all these different things because you want to be your best self, okay? And finally, plot your way to a healthy financial future. Break ties with generational behavior. Sometimes we see habits and ideas passed down from previous generations. I remember being told that I will always be in debt, but I made it a personal vow to myself that I am not going to put myself in that situation because I have another generation that's coming after me. And if I want to be the best mother or the best wife that I could be, then I need to make sure that I renew that mindset. Because what we see emulated in the home may not be healthy. Maybe someone was exposed to a parent gambling or a family member gambling. All these different things, they do creep up and do shape our mindset about money. Somebody may have been against saving. Somebody may have been against investment. Somebody may have been against entrepreneurship and thinking that it's okay to just have a job and nothing else. I'm not saying that being fully employed there's nothing wrong with that because you still need steady income. But sometimes people come up with these negative aspects about money and we emulate it. So make a purpose within yourself that I am not going to emulate or repeat that pattern that I would have seen. I want the best financial future for the generation that's coming after me. So then you develop a new money mindset, like, okay, what I have, I'm going to make best use of, and I'm going to ensure that I develop goals for myself. I'm going to ensure that I budget my money better. I'm going to make sure that I get a handle on my debt. I'm going to make sure that I teach my children about money, not hide financial situations from them. I mean, not that you give them the nitty-gritty details of everything you're going through, but at least you expose them to what the family has to meet in terms of expenses, and they will get a greater appreciation and understanding for why you do what you do and how you do. But your money has potential to grow. So you want to see yourself as having the potential to grow, but you want to see your money as having the potential to grow. So don't look down on it. Make it useful. Use it on yourself. Invest in your development. So what you're thinking about is actually keeping some of what it is that you earn. So what you want to do now is to set goals. We have the new year coming up. You may not have as much money as you think you should. You may not have no money whatsoever, but what goal setting does is that it helps you to be in anticipation of the future that's coming and to work towards that future. So you can set your goals. You can break it down into bite-sized pieces because you don't need to feel pressure to have everything happen all at once. So you can determine what you want to happen within a year, short term. You could determine what you want to happen within 2 to 5 years in the intermediate term, and you could determine what you want to happen within 6+ years, which would be in the long term. Because at the end of the day, the reason why we're preparing or charting our path for a healthy and great financial future is that we want to see our money grow. And there are different ways that you can do that. Like I mentioned, increasing your income, investing in yourself, starting a family business. You never know, because at the end of the day, it's about making sure that the next generation after you has a prosperous and healthy financial future. So I want to thank you so much for having me today. It was really a great opportunity for me to share these tidbits with you. You can follow me on Instagram, you can email me, or you can contact me at this number. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Melinda, for sharing so passionately your own personal experiences and such helpful tips. You know, we certainly would have learned a lot, you know, and I love the fact that the tips are, you know, very practical tips that we can apply. So I know that persons in our audience will have some questions for you. I saw some already starting to pop up. So I now place you in the capable hands of Ms. Renee Barnett, our seasoned moderator, who will take us through our Q&A session. Renee?
Thank you, Audra. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Melinda, as well. All right, so our first question this morning comes from an anonymous person. In our country, they haven't identified the country though. In our country, they have stopped the Visa debit card. If you have a level of control, can you go ahead with the credit card?
Said, it's best that it will work well for you if whatever it is you spend for that particular period, just pay it off one time. But once you have that control, you can work it like that. That's fine. I'm sorry that they cut that off. Wow, that's so interesting because that's the first time I'm hearing about this. I'm going to make note. I'm not sure what country it is, but it's good to know. Thank you.
Yes, I thought that interesting too. All right, moving on to our second question is coming from Carl North. It has been argued that using a debit card does not allow one to build up a credit profile. What are your views on this?
They're right, because it's not use of their credit facility, so therefore they do not have history of what you would have spent money on. But you build credit if you rent, and you're paying your rent on time. That's a form of building credit, and all those different things. Of course, purchasing vehicles and all those different things. So definitely having a Visa debit card does not allow you to have them, keep your credit report history, so to speak. So I agree that that doesn't help. But it's those different things that you can do. Just make sure that you're paying on time. Also, if you're also paying the minimum payment, you want to make sure that you're paying more than the minimum amount due. Because if you just pay the minimum amount, what's happening is that they're taking the interest off and placing the remainder on your payment. So they're not pulling that full minimum payment on. So if you could pay like $20 more or $50 more, then you can see it come down at a more rapid rate. But I'm in agreement, using a debit card does not really help you build up your credit report.
All right, thank you for that tip. Before our next question, we just have someone here asking if you can show the slide again with your contact information.
Certainly, I can. That's fine.
Awesome.
Thank you. Can you see it?
Yes. All right, it should come up on the screen shortly, so that person should be able to take the information. All right, our next question then, is there a rule of thumb on how much one should spend on gifts?
There isn't a rule of thumb. I know I personally one Christmas would have spent $600, which is 300 US on gifts, which could have gone towards building up my savings and all those different things. But you do not want to overextend yourself. Like I said, it depends on the number of people and the kind of relationship that you have. I don't want to place a cap because it depends on your budget. Maybe 100 US, something like that. I'm sure you could find meaningful gifts for people. 250. It depends, but there isn't a rule of thumb, so to speak. But just make sure that you are taking care of all of your monthly commitments before you consider taking care of others. So take care of yourself first, take care of your family first, then you can make that determination. But you don't need to overextend yourself in terms of buying jewelry for people and perfumes and all those things. I'm sure there are meaningful gifts that you could find. Candles, for example, different kinds of accessories for the home. Those different things do add value and meaning.
Okay, wonderful. I have a good follow-on question from that. So this person is asking, should I create a separate budget at Christmas time, or should it be included in my monthly budget?
It could be included as a line item in your budget for Christmas. What I would recommend also in the new year, what you could do is actually set aside money towards your Christmas spending so that by the time the end of the year comes, then you would actually have an accumulated amount to enjoy. So there's nothing wrong with that.
I like that tip. Thank you. May keep that one for myself. All right, we have a question here from Miss Camacho. Can you please tell me your opinion on how a young person who accepts the decisions their parents and generations before them have made, but who plans on making different ones and learn from those decisions made most importantly? As we know in the Caribbean, once you provide, then you are able to make the most important decisions in the family.
Interesting. Could you read that again, please?
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
Can you please tell me your opinion on how a young person who accepts the decisions their parents and generations before them have made, but who plans on making different ones and learn from those decisions made most importantly? Yeah, I don't think the question is clear here, Ms. Camacho. If you could clarify your question. But she's saying that, you know, in the Caribbean, once you provide, then you are able to make the most important decisions in the family.
Oh, I see. Okay. It all depends on the family dynamic, what you have seen growing up. I think sometimes there's the temptation to hold resentment because certain lessons weren't learned. Don't do that. Our parents are our parents. They're doing the absolute best that they could, and that's what they knew at that point. But then now we have the opportunity to determine what's best for us. So we could learn from what we was seeing previously and then decide, okay, I would have seen this example, but this is how I can do things better. So you do not have to repeat what it is that they would have done or you would have seen done, but you're now making the decision that, you know what, I'm going to plan for my retirement now. Because if you're a young person in your 20s, you have tons of time on your hand. And if you think that you need to wait until your 40s to start planning for retirement, it's going to be much more expensive for you to save towards retirement. So I would recommend that you do that right now. There are other things as well too. You don't need to put yourself under pressure to get a new vehicle. Secondhand vehicles work. You can start saving. You can start bettering yourself. You can start investing because again, time is on your hand. So therefore you could set aside money towards those different things. Yes, when you do actually have income, that you have the ability and the purchasing power to make sound decisions for yourself, but you just have to spend some time into thinking about what it is that you want for your life. You don't have to repeat what you would have seen. I mean, if the previous generation was about getting a home and all that stuff, there's nothing wrong with that. That was their financial pinnacle. That is what they wanted to achieve. But then you get to determine what it is that you want to accomplish. If it is that you want to be traveling the world, well, then you know that you want to be situated in one place. You want to travel and work in different places across the world, then you want to get a mortgage. But you have to determine, make that determination what is best for you.
Great, thank you so much for that response. Moving on to our next person. I have my own car, do not pay rent, nor have any items on hire purchase. How important is it to build your credit score?
It is because in some time in the future, you would want to acquire a home. And I'm not saying go and overextend yourself and go and get higher purchase and all that stuff to prove what it is that you're able to do, that you're able to repay. I'm not saying that you go and overextend yourself in debt, but continue. I'm trying to understand, are they paying, they have paid the car off in full, or they're making monthly payments?
The person just said they have their own car.
Okay, I see. All right. There must be some form of credit history. That's what lending institutions require. But if you are at that stage, I mean, when people who are working for jobs in their first time, you know, they wouldn't have any credit history whatsoever, but based on the amount of money that they have, then they're given a loan. the amount of money that they work for, then they're given a loan. So what they tend to do is that they tend to look at your monthly expenses. And again, remember I told you about no more than 35% of your income should be tied up in debt. Once that is clean, then it shows that you actually do have the ability to repay the debt. But again, you don't want to put yourself over that 35%. So if it is that you're looking for a home, then I would strongly recommend, in order to be ready for home ownership, and it may not be home ownership, you may be looking to save money for investment property or get funding for investment property, then you actually do have a deposit there ready so that you wouldn't have to pay the full purchase price. So if the property is $200,000, for example, and you have a $20,000 deposit, then you will only be paying the loan on $180,000. But the reason why they say that is just that they want to see that you have some form of credit history. But seeing that you would not have had any form of it, I think you would be able to acquire funding if necessary.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Moving on to another anonymous person asking a question. Do you incorporate sinking funds into your budget? Are sinking funds a good financial decision?
Yes, it is, because if you have, again, the whole thing about setting aside money for Christmas spending, that's a form of sinking fund. What I plan to do, because I am soon able to pay off my car in full. So what I plan to do is to still set aside money, like as if I'm still paying the loan, so that by the time I acquire a vehicle, and I plan to still maintain that vehicle, I don't plan to go straight into another vehicle after I've just finished. But by the time I'm ready for it, I would have actually had money towards that. So I'm able to pay the insurance or pay the first, I don't know, year's payments, those different things. So yeah, having a sinking fund in your budget is really key.
Okay, great. Thank you. We have not a question, but a general tip from our next person. It is always wise to make monthly provisions for annual expenses, such as insurances, so that when the expense becomes due, the money is already provided for.
110%, that's correct.
Yes, I can agree with that one as well. Okay, moving on to our next question. When should you start to build an emergency fund, and how do you determine if it is sufficient?
As soon as possible, like today. Now, how do you determine if it's efficient? You can think about the different scenarios. I'm not telling you to go paranoid, no, but the different scenarios that could occur. How much does a doctor's visit cost? How much does a visit to the dentist cost? How much does a tire cost? How much does a battery cost? And all these different types of emergencies that could come up. How much would it cost to replace brakes and all those different things? So you're thinking about covering these costs should a surprise occur. And the wonderful thing about having an emergency fund is that it serves as a buffer, and it places less strain on your current budget, because you would have made a plan to spend that money, but then this comes and then you'll have to rearrange things to accommodate this, so it might prove to be stressful. But if as soon as possible you think about those different things, you can start setting aside money. Maybe like $1,000 US you could start with in terms of emergency fund, because you never know what could occur.
All right, thank you. I think we went on into sinking funds without explaining what it was. So we have someone asking, what are sinking funds?
Okay, yeah, I think I explained it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, just in case that person missed it, can you repeat?
And yes, I was just about to. So
Okay.
You're just setting aside that money for spending. It's not for saving. It's not for saving towards purchasing a home or towards purchasing a vehicle or saving towards starting a business, but you're setting aside for spending later. So hence it's a sinking fund. You're sinking money into something. It could be renovations in the future. And you might think, okay, within 2 years, I want to renovate my home. You may think that for me, when I finish pay off my vehicle, I want to have another vehicle in the future. But if at all possible, I can actually have a sizable amount of money that could go towards that. Also, set aside money for travel or set aside money for Christmas spending. Those would be examples of sinking funds.
All right, excellent. Hopefully, the person has a full understanding of what it is. Okay, moving on to our next person. This person is saying it's a follow-up question. Would having a life insurance policy, would that be enough?
Life insurance policies are designed to provide that source of income to your family should you pass. And that's not going to happen anytime soon. Okay, good. But lending institutions tend to require that when you're getting a mortgage, that you need to have a life insurance policy tied to it. Should anything occur, then that life insurance policy would be used to pay off the mortgage. I remember when I had a credit card, I would have had an insurance policy tied to that. Should anything had happened to me, that life insurance policy would be used to cover me. And with respect to, yes. So again, if anything happens to you, that's a source of income for your family. So that would be for handling death, especially for final expenses, funeral expenses, because you don't want to leave a legacy of debt in that you don't want your family to be under financial pressure after you're gone. But that is some form of measure that you put in place that could meet those final expenses. But if it is that you're looking to have money in the future at your time of retirement, what you want to do is to ensure that you're saving towards that. I would have read a story about a guy who went to help his aunt, and he was helping her out in the yard, and then he said he was hungry, so he went in the house. And when he opened the cupboard, he saw dog food. So he said to himself, my aunt doesn't have any dogs. Why is there dog food in there? And then he asked her about it, and she said, well, that's the only thing that I'm afford to eat, that I can afford to buy and eat. So she was eating dog food. So just keep that in mind in terms of determining what is enough, but understand that that's how life insurance policy works. It works for meeting expenses should anything happen to you. But also you still want to have some form of income in the future as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Moving along nicely, we have another question here. Are all of the monies that you set aside, are they all put into different accounts, like savings, retirement fund, etc.? And can you please elaborate on other accounts for savings? Are the ones you mentioned where you put money aside?
Okay, so what you can do, you can have one account which you would use to receive your salary. And what you can opt to do is to have standing orders done where you're actually depositing money towards different things. So if you want money put towards your savings account, you specify the account and you put that amount there. I can speak from the credit union perspective, and they have different accounts for particular purposes. So if you're looking to save for your child's education, well, then you can open up an account there for that. If it is that you're looking to build a home, I have a home builder's account on my credit union account. So then I would put money towards that, towards building my home. So they would have different accounts for different purposes. It's just a matter of searching to find out what works for you and what it is that you would like to accomplish. But in terms of your retirement as well, if you're working with a particular company, then you deposit that money with them and they manage that for you so that it can grow over a period of time. So it's not specifically like, oh, you're going to a bank and these are the different types of accounts that we have for particular purposes. But if you're looking to go into retirement, there are different financial institutions who deal specifically with that. You pay them for that. And if it is that you're looking to save for a home, and different banks may have different products for particular reasons, for saving goals, then you could put that amount of money in there. So it all depends on what it is that they have to offer. You just have to be on the lookout for what it is that's out there.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that response. On to our next question. How should we best manage bonuses, tax returns, or other extra financial gains that we may receive?
That's a very good question. And right here in Barbados, I'm hearing people talking about how they would have received their returns. You don't want to put all of the money towards debt. You want to make sure that you have some towards set aside for savings, for emergencies. If there is a particular loan amount that's manageable, that's very tiny that you can clear off. Let's say the amount is 200 US, for example, and your bonus can accommodate that very comfortably, and you're looking to pay that off quite quickly, you could consider paying off small debts like those hire purchase agreements once they're small amounts and those different things. So you could consider that as well too. But you also want to be ready for investment opportunities. You never know. You might be saving towards a home. You could put it towards that as well too. You could treat yourself, buy yourself a gift. There's nothing wrong with that. But just treat the bonus as separate. You can decide to put it on a separate account from the account that you're receiving your salary from, so that it doesn't appear existent to you. Because if you see that, you're going to go and do whatever it is that you want to do. You're going to think that, oh, this is additional income, so I can spend. No, if you could set that aside in a separate account, that would be good for you.
All right, excellent. Our next question. I heard that an emergency fund should cover your expenses for 6 months. Is this a good metric, knowing that you will not start off at that 6-month total, but that you can work towards saving that amount?
So emergencies are saving for emergencies is more like life surprises, like these things come up all of a sudden that you have to deal with, changing the battery and so on. That's one aspect of saving. But then what she's talking about, or he's talking about, is the unemployment. Now, nobody plans to be unemployed. These things do happen. But what you can do, like they rightfully said, you can save 6 months of your living expenses, those important things, your rent, your mortgage, your car payment, your utilities, all those different things for food. Let's not forget food, okay? So you can save for 6 months of those. But if you can start saving for 1 month of that, then you can build towards that. So you don't need to feel pressure like, I need to have 6 months, like right now. But you can start with 1 month, and then gradually you'll start to build it over a period of time. So that would be what I would recommend.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Can you go over the formula for the debt management? Did you say it is over your gross salary, or is it your net salary?
So this is the debt. Okay, let me look at the two measures then. So there's the debt service ratio. The debt service ratio, and that is the percentage of your income that's tied up in consumer loans. So the consumer loans would be your hire purchase. The consumer loans would be your credit cards and those different things, okay? So you divide those monthly payments by your net salary, okay? And no more than 20% of your income should be tied up in consumer loans. That's the first step. So this is the debt service ratio, which looks at the percentage of your income that is tied up in consumer loans. So you total up those monthly amounts and you divide it by your net salary. And once your debt safety ratio, is 20% and below, you're good to go. Then there's the debt service ratio, which lending institutions tend to look at, which would be all of your monthly payments, your your mortgage, your vehicle payments, and the consumer loans. So you're totaling all of your monthly loan payments and dividing that by your gross salary. And that's how you calculate your debt service ratio. So there are two measures. There's the debt safety, which is your consumer loans, and you want to make sure that you're under 20% as it relates to that. And then there's the debt service ratio, which would be all of your loans. And once it's below 35%, you're good to go.
All right, that's very interesting. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think we have time for just one more. What tips would you share with parents to guide their children in money management?
Really? So I would have been invited to a summer camp, and well, quite a few, and I would have recognized that children know what's going on with money. I worked with 4-year-olds and up. Actually, I created a coloring book teaching children how to manage their money. So I'm aware of, how to talk to children about money. So there's the envelope system. I think most of y'all would be aware of this. That's where you place money in labeled envelopes for various spending purposes. So you put money towards groceries in the envelope, you put money towards rent, you put money towards utilities and all those different things. So I came up with a system. I said, well, children are colorful and they like games, so to speak. So I decided that one colored envelope would be for giving, another colored envelope would be for saving, and then another colored envelope would be for spending. So I think I put gold in terms of in terms of giving, and then I put blue in terms of saving. I think I put red in terms of spending. So I put $5 in their hands and I said to them, what is it that you would like to do? How much money would you put towards giving? How much money will you put towards saving? How much money are you going to put towards spending? And each child was very different. One child put all to giving. That's just their heart. Bless their little hearts. One person put all in spending. And then another person put some into giving, some into saving, and some into spending. So children do know exactly what's going on with money, but it's just a matter of encouraging that behavior from early. And then as they grow older, well, then you would have to look at different ways and means to get around in terms of, getting them to understand money management better. But if you start them young, it helps build them that confidence to manage money from an early age, so that by the time they're into adulthood, they're already practicing it, they're already seeing it, and they're already doing what it is that they need to do. So children are never too young to learn about money. It will not make them greedy, it will not make them selfish, but it will empower them and it will change their trajectory for the rest of their lives.
I think that's absolutely awesome. So thank you so much. I don't think we have any time left for any more questions, so I will hand over back to Audra.
Thank you, Rennie. Thank you. And Melinda, on behalf of all of us at Massey, thank you so much for your time and expertise. And again, for sharing those personal experiences that we can certainly all relate to. I know your tips will go a long way in helping us to not be Grinch-like this Christmas, but to have a merry money Christmas.
That's right.
Your tips were extremely practical and extremely useful. So thanks again, Melinda. We look forward to having you back in the future, right?
Yes.
Thanks to Jamone, Terrence, and the MLI team, as usual, for your support and the production of these webinars. And to your attendees, this is our final webinar for 2021, sob. But we want to thank you for your continued attendance and support during 2021. It was indeed great spending our Wednesdays with you all. So as we wrap up, let me take this opportunity to wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas and a bright and prosperous New Year. And I know certainly with these tips that Melinda has given us has really set us for the end of this year and will take us nicely into 2022 with a lot to look forward to, a lot of goal setting to do. We'll be well set. So everybody, remember, keep safe, keep merry, keep leveling up, and we're going to see you all in 2022. Bye for now. Take care.